So this whole food plant-based approach is really about, hey, let's eat food the way nature intended. That's revolutionary because nobody's doing that anymore. Hey, it's your girl Carmelle Jean-Francois, owner and founder and CEO of CFIT Coaching. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another installment of the Sugar Savvy Solution, acclimating the foodie in you to a life beyond sugar. Today we're going to talk about why this revolutionary whole food plant-based approach restores insulin health. Revolutionary? Quite dramatic. But dramatic on purpose, because people think whole food plant-based and they're thinking, why do we have to be so drastic and dramatic about this diet thing? Why can't I just cut certain things out? Or why do we have to be so restrictive? So this whole food plant-based approach is really about, hey, let's eat food the way it appears in nature. Let's eat the food the way nature intended. That's revolutionary because nobody's doing that anymore. But we can have a whole discussion on that another time. What I really want to talk about today, seriously, is insulin and why going whole food plant-based is the ideal way to heal insulin resistance. Before we start talking about this very interesting topic, I would love for you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you are informed every time I jump on here. You'll help support my channel and I'll feel like you actually really do like me. You've been told by your doctor, or maybe you know, that you are insulin resistant. You've been diagnosed with prediabetes or even type 2 diabetes. I want to give you 3 powerful reasons why going whole food plant-based or adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle, completely salt, oil, and sugar-free, can actually be a game changer. It can change everything. Let's talk about it. Before we get into it, for those of you who may not know, let me quickly define insulin resistance, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes. Insulin is a hormone that's actually released by the pancreas whenever we eat, no matter what we eat. And its role is to really go into our bloodstream, mopping up all that excess sugar and putting it into our cells so that we can use for energy, so that we can move, so that we can keep our energy up. With that said, insulin resistance is when the body fails to react to the efforts of insulin. And when that happens, the sugars that we've consumed during our meals, all of our meals, are still roaming around in the blood, not being taken into the cells. That's what we call insulin resistance. We typically hear from our doctor that we are pre-diabetic. And what that means is that excess sugar has been detected in our blood. And you'll hear the doctor refer to this as your A1C levels. Prediabetes is that A1C level range where you can actually reverse it without much change to your lifestyle. However, if we don't take heed of that warning and we keep consuming foods the same way we've always been and think it's not a big deal, and I gotta tell you, oftentimes we don't think it's a big deal because the doctor doesn't really treat it as one. But if we don't treat it as a big deal and we keep going down the same path, eating the same foods, living the same type of lifestyle, then we'll find ourselves being diagnosed as a full-blown diabetic. So again, insulin resistance and prediabetes, and of course, type 2 diabetes, all of it comes with its own host of problems. Our blood is not the only thing that's affected. It affects our organs, it affects our muscles, it affects our brain, it affects our energy levels. It's a big deal. So now that you know on a very basic level what insulin resistance, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes are, let's talk about why going whole food plant-based is the ideal way to help reverse all 3 conditions. Reason number 1, we got to clear the fat. Most people think that it's the sugar that's the culprit when it comes to insulin resistance, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes. Sugar actually is a symptom. It actually is what gives us the clue that there's a problem with our insulin. The real culprit is fat. Too much fat in the cells. Remember when I said insulin's job is to take the sugar molecules that's in our bloodstream and deliver it to the cells for energy? Well, insulin wants to do just that. However, when it takes the sugar to the cells, the cells have no more room in it because there's way too much fat in there, especially in the muscles and the liver. And the fat is coming from the foods that we're consuming, especially the ultra-processed foods found on our supermarket shelves and the restaurants from where we are consuming our foods. I say it all the time. So when we go whole food plant-based and adapt that lifestyle, it's not that we're no longer consuming any fat, but everything that's plant-based is naturally lower in fat. So it gives our body a chance to really remove the fat from our cells, and it just doesn't gum up that whole process. And it lets insulin do its job, which is to deliver the sugar into our cells so that our bodies can use the sugar as energy. Second reason, going whole food plant-based stabilizes our blood sugar. Whole plant foods are rich in fiber, water, and complex carbohydrates. And what they do is they naturally slow digestion and slow the uptake of all of that sugar into our bloodstream. Without the added refined sugar and all of that processed junk, our blood sugar stays steady. This means fewer spikes, fewer crashes, and a lot more energy that our bodies can actually use. And number 3, going whole food plant-based reduces inflammation and it helps us heal. Salt, oil, and sugar triggers inflammation and damages our cells, including insulin receptors and the pancreas. But plants are loaded with antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, everything that our bodies need to not only keep our bodies from being in an inflamed state, but it actually reduces inflammation and helps the body heal. So over time, and it doesn't take much time, our bodies are not just managing these conditions, but actually reversing the damage caused by insulin resistance, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes. So again, if you've been diagnosed with any of these conditions and you don't want to live a life restricted by medications or constantly worried about what your doctor tells you at your next visit, going whole food plant-based and salt, oil, and sugar-free is the most powerful, ideal, and fastest way to heal. Friends, I've seen it work firsthand. It worked with me, and I'm proud to say that it's worked with my clients. What I don't want anybody to continue thinking is that insulin resistance, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes is a life sentence, or that it runs in the family so there's no escaping it. There's absolutely a way to prevent it, and there's a way to reverse it. But you have to be diligent, and you have to take it seriously. You have to give it the time that it requires in order for you to make the changes that's needed to help your body heal, because it can be healed. And so this whole food plant-based approach is really about saying, let's eat the food as it appears in nature. Revolutionary? If you're at all interested in getting started and you don't know where to start, I am a click and a phone call and a text and an email message away. All my information is in the description for you. You can sign on to work with me one-on-one, or you can just go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel where I'm constantly delivering this message. And anybody who's listened to me for any amount of time is kind of thinking, Carmelle, you're being very redundant. It's because I want to deliver the message to you. It's that important, and it's attainable, and it's available to you. If you have questions, I urge you, leave them in the comments and I will respond immediately. You deserve to feel good again. You deserve to feel good always. And your family members, the people that you love and the people that love you, deserve it as well. And I'm just like you. I was diagnosed with prediabetes and I beat it. My father was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and he beat it. I can guide you in that direction. I would love to hear from you. I would love to work with you. I just want you to be savvy about your sugar. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Managing the condition.